In this video, we're going to be looking at a simple revision system that we can use in Notion to help us manage our Bible memory process. So when we're trying to memorize lots of different verses or passages at the same time over an extended period of time, one system of memorization that we can use is called the Leitner system. And the way this works is we try to memorize or recite a passage or a verse. If we get it right, we move it up to the next level or the next box. If we get it right then, we move it up to the next level or the next box, and so on. And basically, this is being replicated in Notion, but with a few extra things. So let's see how this works. Imagine I have, I do have a collection here of verses. And let's say I want to practice Mark 3:1. Now, Mark 3:1 says, "Again, he entered the synagogue, and a man was there with a withered hand." And let's just check, did we get that right? Yes, we did. So what we're going to do is we're going to move that from being in the active column to being in box 1. And every single time we correctly recite a verse or a passage from the active column, we just drag it across to box 1. I'll just point out at this point that we have all the verses up the top, and we have all the passages underneath, and then the chapters at the bottom. That's simply because there'll be a lot more verses. Now, when we get a certain number of items in box 1, and I would say the number 5 is a good number. When we get 5 numbers in box 1, we're going to go through and check all of these. We're going to test ourselves on all of them. Every one that we get right, we'll drag across to box 2. Every one that we get wrong, we'll drag back to active. And by doing this, we will end up with nothing left in box 1, but we'll hopefully have more things in box 2 than we used to, and more things in active again. And again, we'll just keep testing ourselves on the active column. Every time we get something right, we move it to box 1. If we don't get it right, it stays inactive. Now, with box 2, the number that we might require in order to test box 2 might be higher than box 1. Rather than being 5, we might decide that we would rather make it 10. So if we are getting, let's say, we get 5 in box 1 again, and we test them all, and we get them all right. So they all appear in box 2, the red column. Then at this point, here we go. At this point, we've got 10 items in this column in box 2. 9 of them are verses and 1 of them is a passage. So then we would, now that we've reached our limit for box 2, test every one of these. If we get it right, it moves up to box 3. If we get it wrong, it moves back to the active box. And the reason we do this is because we want to increase the amount of time when we first tested ourselves to get it into box 1, to then when we test ourselves again to get it from box 1 into box 2, to when we test ourselves again to get it from box 2 into box 3. And the way that we do that is by having higher and higher limits. So box 1, we might limit it to 5. As soon as we have 5 in there, we practice everything in that. Box 2 might have 10. As soon as we hit that limit, we might practice everything in box 2. And box 3, we might have a limit of, say, 20. As soon as we get 20 items in here, we will test everything and either move them up 1 or move them back down to active. Now, what this will mean over time is as we progressively get a particular verse or passage consistently right, it will eventually move to the other column. And this might take a little while depending on how many boxes we have. I've got 6 boxes here plus the other column. The original Leitner system, I believe, had 4 boxes, so that would have been a bit quicker. But this other column, basically what I would be recommending you do, as soon as something makes it all the way to the other column, I would be recommending that you then put that on a rotation. So every 1 or 2 or 3 months, or even every 6 months, you review that verse or that passage, rather than having to follow it through the whole system all the time. So that'd be my recommendation. And in that long-term review, if you get it wrong, I would recommend that you then just put it back into the active column and remove it out of your long-term review. Okay, so this is the system. That's how it works in Notion by just dragging and dropping. In the next video, I will show you how to build this system in Notion, how to set it up so that you can get exactly what you see on the screen here, maybe with some slight variations on color and wording. But if you want to know how to build this system, have a look at my next video and I'll see you there.